I couldn't believe when we look back at the last episode that it had been over 5 years, but
Right.
lots of change, man. Like I even see it now with like how fast the scores get updated and like there's it just looks like a totally different world. And so I don't know anybody that is on top of what's changing in credit. Like credit reminds me now more of finance than ever, where people get financial advice from their parents who got it from their parents who got it from their parents and it gets like passed along. I feel like that's what happens in credit still is people have
Yeah.
these things that they've heard 30 years ago, but nobody really understands like what's actually happening and how the game has changed. And with the evolution of technology, I feel like what's important is more up to date than ever, that people just don't know what's changed. So talk about it, man. What's new, exciting,
Yeah.
scary, what all things? Because
See, that is the key. And one thing, and I did get amazing well wishes, but to bring your listeners up to date, I my relationship with FICO, actual technological relationship with FICO, is over 10 years now. I was down there in May of 2016 was the first FICO World. That's where I met Will Lansing, the CEO, and he when he heard about what I was doing, where I was optimizing borrowers to meet underwriting criteria, he said, if you're interested, I'm happy to meet with my personal and business software platform teams. I can't give you any of the secret sauce. We have to NDA you, but you can ask yes and no questions. So I'm happy to offer that to you. That's when I really thought I died and went to heaven. Because this was like a pinnacle moment in my professional life. And so we met with and part of my presentation is I show where we had these conclaves. And what people don't know, most people know FICO as the 3-digit score, right? But that is so little of where FICO gets their revenues. FICO actually produces the underwriting software platforms that they lease to banks. Banks put in their underwriting criteria, and FICO's massively machine intelligent decisioning platform. They literally call it the FICO decisioning platform to decide whether or not to lend or deny you. And so my questions were focused on what were the underwriting criteria. Most people, they take their experience of being denied as an adversarial relationship between lender and borrower, when that does not exist, even in theory. What happens is there is a checklist, and if you check the boxes, you get approved. If you don't check the boxes, you don't get approved. The lenders don't give a whit. They literally just want you to check the boxes. And that's what these conversations with FICO have been about. They have a lender conclave. I'd call it a cabal, but that seems a little sinister. It's a conclave called FICO World every year now. And I've been to every except for my accident year. So I've been to all FICO Worlds but one. When I walk into a room of credit people, I'm usually in the top 10%, 5%, 1% of the smartest people in the room. I'm the dumbest person in that room. And that's the room I like to be in, right? When I'm sitting in a presentation about FICO decisioning platforms and they're talking about decision trees and data lakes, and I'm gone. I'm lost. I have no clue. What I know is that they assign me a FICO representative, a FICO liaison, who is the lead of business lending and originations at FICO. His name is David Smith. Met him in 2017, and we've become friends since. And he actually comes to some of my Tuesday meetings to weigh in and share what's going on in the marketplace. We have a great time there. He's a wonderful guy, and I interview him on podcasts every year at FICO World, so that I can update my community and the public who watch. Fascinating stuff. I have my finger on the pulse of FICO who meets with all the lenders, collects all this data in their platform, and then they make decisions from there on, right? And update their underwriting criteria. So it's kind of like state of the nation. Well, this is state of lending. And we have these quarterly. So what is different is so I believe like I said, I'm in the top small percentage of individuals that don't work at FICO who have who get the intel on what's happening. Because in my original conversation with Will Lansing of FICO CEO is that I wasn't credit repair. I wasn't trying to hack the system. I was optimizing borrower behaviors, which is what they focus on. And so when he saw that I was helping borrowers with their borrower behaviors become more fundable, he was like, okay, well, this is the guy that can be the face of education, because it's off point for FICO to train consumers and borrowers. It's off point for lenders to say, all right, everybody who wants a loan, we're having a meeting on Tuesday at 7 p.m. There'll be donuts and coffee, and we're going to talk about how to get approved. You're never going to see that, right? So, but that is what I do every Tuesday at 3:30 Mountain. How do you pass muster with these checkboxes, the underwriting checkboxes? And so that has given me this unique perspective. A couple of things that are in play big time. For years and years and years and years, decades, lenders would complete a statement cycle. You have an open statement date and a closed statement date. And then 3 to 5 days later, they would report those statements or the balance that was on that statement, they report it to the lenders, right? And so that's when you would know whether you have high balances, low balances. And people are always concerned. They're like, hey, they reported me with a balance and I pay it to zero every month. And I'm like, yeah, but what was the balance at the end of the statement? And they're like, I don't know. I was like, it's 60% of the balance, but I paid it to zero, or 60% of the limit, but I paid it on the due date to zero. I'm like, yeah, but they caught you with your pants down at the statement close date. Well, now more and more and more, FICO continues to advance. Lenders FICO have real-time reporting. So they'll have threshold reporting. Like if you're 3 days late, not 30 days late, where it counts as derogatory. If it's 3 days late, they'll report that balance that was supposed to be paid. So it looks like you're carrying even a larger balance. They have threshold balances. They'll report over. Everybody thinks this magic number is 30%. If I keep my balances under 30%, it's not, you guys. That's another myth. The balances are very different than that. You get points at 1%, 7%, 18%, 28%, 38%. By the way, 38% is when you're in the risk department where they're reviewing every transaction.
Ooh. Instead
of reviewing your monthly statements. If you're 38% or higher, then it goes 55, 75, 95, and then anything over 95 is kind of counted as a maxed out limit. And then, of course, next to a 30-day late, being over limit is horrible. Well, and everybody doesn't report at every one of those, but those are the thresholds that lenders choose from to report to the bureaus the current balance. So if you're trucking along and you have a wedding and you put 75% of a credit card on the wedding, right? You have $20,000 and you put on 15 grand. All of a sudden, that 15 grand shows up as a 15 grand balance because they have a threshold, let's say over 50% or 75%, they're going to report you. So even if you would have paid it off. So their real-time reporting is a thing. So there's a dance that I teach my clients to do on how to use what we call traffic on your credit cards, charge ups, payoffs, charge up, payoffs. But that's a big thing. Another big reporting feature is they're no longer just watching your credit. FICO has allowed for if you pay for their general FICO score, it's called FICO 8. If you are a subscriber to your FICO 8 score, for your customers, then you get to see everybody else's FICO 8 scores from every other bank that's using them in a soft pull. So there are interbank triggers. If you go up past 75% on one card, ding, 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 ding. It's being announced by others who are part of that FICO program. Yeah. So that's why if somebody goes late on one account, there's downstream triggers of what, and that's why if somebody goes late or you're at 100% utilization, 95% utilization or higher, all of a sudden others downstream, other lenders will be like, let's drop their limits, drop their limits, drop their limits, right? Those are the triggers. And these are very dangerous rapids. You can either try and traverse them on your own, or you can take a whitewater guide and have the time of your life. It's the same rapids. It's just who is helping you navigate in your canoe, in your boat, in your raft, right? And that's what I do with my clients is how do we take the current rules of engagement and how do we navigate that so we get the best possible borrower behaviors and the least amount of negative drag so that we can use our credit without triggering any negative effects with our current lender, the card we're using, or future lenders.